Buzzfeed. 20 million subscribers, 20,000 views a video. The once thriving brand now displays a Google trend graph that looks like this, a YouTube viewership graph that looks like this, and a stock price graph that looks like this. The price fall of 55% from $10 a share to $4.50 a share over only the last month and a half, in conjunction with numerous rounds of layoffs and redundancies, hints at the rough seas that Buzzfeed happens to be sailing through at this very moment. However, with such a tarnished, downtrodden reputation, there's probably few who are surprised to hear of such news. And in this video, you're going to learn exactly how Buzzfeed destroyed their reputation as an accumulation of a long string of terribly poor decisions. The brand started in 2006, and by 2013, it had taken on this now established format of bizarre relatable lists in combination with completely garbage news articles. There were classics such as Why It's Time to Ban Straight People and Aladdin's Dad is the Biggest DILF of All Time. While these were clearly nonsense articles made with the goal of being so stupid that you couldn't help but click, this is what Buzzfeed was good at, making extremely clickable articles which often led through to something that would be relatable to their youthful audience. 6 signs you're becoming your Asian parents. 17 struggles all suburban black kids know too well. These also show that Buzzfeed was big on the whole identity politics movement that was being popularized at the time. Many of their articles were very focused on men versus women, blacks, whites, Asians, gays, straights, etc, etc. Now, whether or not it was ethical to segregate people further in exchange for extra clicks is an argument for another day. But in terms of getting people to relate to the content, it worked like magic. 15 videos that were so damn relatable for women in 2015. However, this controversial pandering to specific identities would also be the reason behind why the site experienced massive levels of criticism. Videos such as their classic Women Try Manspreading for a Week were criticized online to audiences of well over 10 million, on top of their already brutal 60% dislike ratios. Everything Wrong with Buzzfeed, 4 million. Buzzfeed has hit a new low, 5.5 million. 36 Stupid Feminist Questions Answered, 25 million views.
This is terrible. You're trying to relate opening your legs to sexism and now racism.
Buzzfeed began to undermine their own reputation and public image with the politicization of their brand. If you look at Buzzfeed's Google search volume graph, there was nothing but growth between 2011 and mid-2015, beginning to decline in late 2015 and 2016, a time which conveniently coincided with the brand's severe political shift. On YouTube, it was a similar story. Nothing but growth from 2012 until August 2015, peaking at 377 million views in a month before halving in the year that followed. In the process, Buzzfeed did a pretty good job of completely and utterly destroying their news department's credibility. In August 2017, the University of Missouri surveyed 8,728 individuals, attempting to determine the most and least trusted news sources in the USA. Respondents on average, quote, leaned towards the liberal side of the political spectrum, with the distribution looking a little like this, and Buzzfeed still scored as the second least trusted news site in the USA, even lower than Alex Jones's conspiracy theory show, which Google quite literally labels as a fake news website. The damage that Buzzfeed had done to their reputation was best summarized by a forum post in a thread discussing why people had turned against Buzzfeed. Once upon a time, it helped raise awareness and educate us about several marginalized groups, also adding to its charm. It was a warm, inclusive, homey online community where everybody was welcome and equal, until one day it wasn't. Slowly, it degenerated into extreme left hogwash, more ridiculous than Quibbler. It became infested with extremists and radicals. Instead of focusing on important issues, it focused on non-issues like manspreading. Instead of focusing on the spirit of equality, it became obsessed with the rhetoric of victimhood. Nowadays, Buzzfeed has become shitfeed. Mostly. Mostly is a very important word to focus on here, and it'd be stupid to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Ryan Bergara and Shay Madej, who are certainly contenders for the 2 biggest legends in YouTube history, were absolutely killing it with what many considered to be the greatest series ever uploaded to the platform, Buzzfeed Unsolved, eventually releasing over 70 episodes that cracked the 10 million view mark. The difference in quality between Buzzfeed Unsolved and the Buzzfeed main channel has often been highlighted in comments such as, whenever I hear Buzzfeed, it's either followed by is complete garbage or Unsolved is the best series on the internet. So I can also say for certain that they have a wide range of content, both in subject and quality. Others such as the Try Guys had a similarly positive impact on Buzzfeed's brand, often gaining over 20 million views on their episodes. However, it seemed as though every single one of these positive influences eventually wound up following a similar path.
Nowadays, all you gotta do is join Buzzfeed, be in a handful of vids, then leave and boom, instant traffic to your new already owned channel.
They'd achieve massive success through Buzzfeed using their own personalities, wait for their Buzzfeed contract to end, then leave and start their own channel doing the exact same thing, only with more creative freedom and financial incentive.
Quite frankly, they didn't want to pay us enough.
The previously shown clip was taken from a video titled Why We Left BuzzFeed from 4 different perspectives, which was one of the countless Why I Left BuzzFeed videos that had cemented this common phenomena of gaining skills then leaving to pursue your own project. People literally made comments on these videos saying Why I Left BuzzFeed could have its own channel. The significance of this was that it showed BuzzFeed wasn't very good at keeping their top talent. Perhaps not the fault of BuzzFeed themselves, but rather that it was simply too easy for their top people to leave and continue the same shtick under their own name, taking their audience along with them. The Try Guys often received comments such as they didn't need BuzzFeed, they're the reason people watched BuzzFeed. While an interviewee on an article discussing BuzzFeed's changes stated, "After my favorite creators and video stars left, I no longer found their videos funny or even entertaining. I haven't watched a single BuzzFeed video since the Try Guys departed." Buzzfeed Unsolved received similar comments such as, "Ryan and Shane literally carried this channel. Without them, BuzzFeed is irrelevant. Let's be honest here. The new people that are taking over have big shoes to fill," which was commented after Ryan and Shane also announced that they will be leaving to create their own channel called Watcher. However, at least the Buzzfeed Unsolved boys and the Try Guys had the ability to resign with a bit of dignity, a luxury unavailable to the hundreds laid off by BuzzFeed over the last 4 years. Articles such as this one cited the layoff of 100 employees in November 2017 after BuzzFeed fell short of their revenue goals by 20%. It was the same story in January 2019. Another 200 staff representing 15% of the entire company were laid off, the reason for which being that BuzzFeed was unable to diversify its revenue, a fancy sentence meaning they didn't make enough money. The company would come under fire for this round of layoffs in an article posted by Nextshark titled, "BuzzFeed is being accused of laying off mostly people of color and LGBT employees," which highlighted numerous Twitter responses from BuzzFeed's fans. One specifically stated, "Whether you support BuzzFeed or not, the facts are that hundreds of people who made/worked on content speaking to marginalized and unrepresented groups are being laid off, and that is a problem." Now, the more likely simple reality is that these people were probably just working in an area that had become unprofitable. BuzzFeed isn't going to discriminate based on skin color or sexual orientation. However, BuzzFeed is going to discriminate based on what is bringing in profit. The additional reason for most of the layoffs being people of color or members of the LGBT community is also related to their hiring process. On the 18th of February 2016, one of BuzzFeed's writers announced that they were looking to hire some new talent in a tweet stating, "Would you like to write long form for BuzzFeed Canada? Well, you can. We want pitches for your Canada-centric essays and reporting." The tweets continued. "BuzzFeed Canada would particularly like to hear from you if you are not white and not male. If you're a white man upset that we are looking for mostly non-white non-men, I don't care about you. Go write for McLean's. White men are still permitted to pitch. I will read it, I will consider it. I'm just less interested because, men. White men get huffy when you don't actively encourage white men to do stuff because white men think they're owed everything. Giving ignored voices preferential treatment is not racist against white people, it is an attempt to fix all of history. Haha, anyway, ban men, literally throw them in the garbage. I'm actually getting pictures from white men that start with, 'Sorry, I'm a white man.' That doesn't actually help your case. This isn't about you." If BuzzFeed were only interested in employing minorities, statistically speaking, when it came to layoffs, a large portion of the laid off staff were inevitably going to be minorities. In addition to the 200 layoffs in early 2019, the lack of performance from BuzzFeed News, the only division in all of BuzzFeed that wasn't profitable, resulted in the shutdown of both their UK and Australian news team, summed up hilariously by YouTuber Friendly Geordies.
Nobody watches their news. The only shares that they have are from people within the office sharing it. We've built a strong brand, loyal audience. Strong brand and loyal audience? You have not a loyal audience or a strong brand. Nobody in the world likes you.
With less money to work with, an inability to keep their top talent, and fewer staff to execute on ideas following layoffs, a dip in YouTube viewership was almost inevitable. However, their fall from a peak of 377 million views a month in mid-2015 to 40 million views a month by late 2020 wasn't only a result of fewer company resources. The content being produced had become incredibly stale. In 2014, their clickbait titles and various different video series were effective in garnering a new audience. The content was fresh and interesting. Their cheap vs expensive food series was gaining views, their exes doing things together series was gaining views, their people trying whatever for the first time series was getting views, each of which being an incredibly entertaining series that viewers would return for. These days, however, the only series that gains big views and ensures a returning audience is their How I Became a Meme series, with every single other video type averaging around 50,000 views. Former BuzzFeed member Ken Moffat discussed how when he worked at BuzzFeed, they were always more concerned about quantity over quality.
I started to realize that to BuzzFeed, in a lot of cases, quantity trumps quality. They would rather have more videos than fewer good videos.
This might have worked excellently in the early days of YouTube when there was barely any competition and viewers would literally click on anything, but these days people notice that it's made by BuzzFeed and just assume that it's another piece of mass-produced content farm crap, which it usually is. However, it's not like the company is worthless. On the 24th of June 2021, BuzzFeed announced that they will be going public with a target valuation of $1.5 billion. BuzzFeed would raise $287.5 million from investors after announcing that it will be merging with another company called Complex Networks. However, by the 2nd of December 2021, just 4 days before the company was set to go public, it was revealed that 94% of this $287 million had been withdrawn from investors, leaving BuzzFeed with just $16.2 million. This, in combination with a clear decline in site traffic, Google search volume, video views, numerous layoffs failing to meet profit goals year after year, led to somewhat of a disastrous first month as a public company. On the very first day, the share price was $10, but by the end of the first week, it had dropped to $5.80, down 42%, and after approximately a month and a half, the price has since dropped further to $4.50, a total decline of 55%, with one financial article stating that even after the plunge in price, I feel that BuzzFeed stock is not a bargain. The same article also critiqued BuzzFeed for their poor business operation as a whole, in a statement which perfectly concludes the company's slow, painful death. In my view, it's clear their business model is a failure. Perhaps too many of their writers view their employment to be a non-profit entity that exists solely to achieve social changes and not to make money for capitalist shareholders.